Good evening. So every brand needs a purpose, a very strong purpose. Brand purpose is nothing but the why behind an organization, the very purpose for which the brand was created, the very purpose for which the brand exists. So in the next 2 minutes, I'll try to talk about the brand purpose of Lifespice. So during the COVID years, we learned the terminology. During COVID years, we learned this terminology called DALY, that's Disability Allowed Life Years. That's nothing but the amount of active years taken away from an average lifespan of an individual due to major illness or disability that impacts the quality of living. Basically, in the pie graph, if you see, anything other than the blue, those are years that are available to a human being that are being taken away by those famous, or I would call it as a fatal 5 diseases. That's what WHO, who measures to assess the global burden of diseases. Unfortunately, this is growing at 8% per year. What it meant to us was we found a purpose to start our company. We decided to produce a product that helps to reduce this DALY, which means we help people to live longer, live healthier. How do we do that? So for 1.5 years, we did researches, followed by testing in pharma quality labs, world-class labs. We applied for patents, got few patents. As a result of which, we got now products and offerings that can help us to reduce the DALY. However small it is, you can imagine, even if we help to save 10 man days of a human being in India, multiply that by our population who could consume, that's the impact, that's the purpose we want to have behind our organization. So that's the why behind our company. The how, it's a tall claim. How did we do that? We did a lot of research, as I said, on the science of spices, and we came out with some specific formulations and combinations by which we can deliver health-boosting phytochemicals, which can upregulate the performance of our genes epigenetically. That sounds like lots of science, but I got just 2 minutes. So go back and feel free to Google on what is DALY, what is phytochemicals, how they are linked to well-being. That's the story behind our science. The science, first India's science-backed spices. So with this science, we are delivering exotic flavor spices, only spices, original spices. That's our brand objective. So I covered the why and the how, a little bit on what we are, right? We are not just another spice manufacturers. We are not into signing up the biggest ambassadors and going on a cheaper sachet kind of thing. We are more of a science-based spice creator. We are not another organic supplier. We are supplying phytochemicals rich, only spices, original spices. We don't claim to be a medicine or a cure. Instead, we are what we call as a nutraceutical. We help to upregulate the genes. That's a science. And then we are not just healthy, we are healthy as well as very tasty. I didn't have much time to go behind the science. I'll ask my friend and main promoter, Ganeshan, to come and talk about our journey, the technical journey, the patent, the path to the patents, and then feel free to drop into our stall. We can have a lot of exchanges. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Goldie, for that nice lunch. My name is Ganeshan, Varadarajan. I'm an electrical and electronics engineer, as is my colleague here. So we're a bunch of engineers who got together during the COVID days. Lots of dots, can't share all of them. The shortest speech I've made on my project is about 45 minutes, and I've got 3. All that I can say is, we've done 1 year of research using zebra fish, which has got a bioequivalence with man. Everybody here in the hall, after COVID and its tragic impacts, know that there are phytochemicals which are good for us. A lot of us have been having turmeric lattes. But sorry, that was not useful. Bioabsorbance of turmeric is 0. When mixed with pepper, it becomes 10%. When mixed with saturated fats, it becomes 25%. So there's a particular combination in which we need to consume these spices for any positive effect. So what we have done is conducted a lot of tests on zebrafish. We took 30 zebrafish, we fed 5 of them only fish food, and the other 25 had our spice mixes. Every 10th day, 20th day, 30th day, we harvest the organs and we put it through an RT-PCR and we check for gene upregulation. Genes, each of us each human being has got 25,000 to 100,000 genes. Genes produce proteins. Proteins control functioning of various organ parts in the body. Different genes produce different proteins which control different organs. When everything is in equilibrium, you're healthy. When there's a disturbance, you have a disease. So that's the fastest and shortest introduction to pharmacology you'll ever find. So having seen that, what did we do? We made some spices, fed it to our fish. I don't know whether this has a pointer somewhere, but yeah. Right on top you see a bar graph. The small blue lines are what we call a placebo. They are the organs of the fish that did not consume our spices. And then you see orange lines, gray lines, and red lines. Now they are fish which consumed our spices for 10 days, 20 days, and 30 days. And as you can see, the genes are upregulating. The complicated alphanumeric descriptors at the bottom of the bar graphs are actually names of the genes. It's like Ganeshan, Varadarajan in Poland or something like that. So those complicated alphanumerics are names of the genes. What those genes do are there in the graph. For example, ADIPOP-PQ, if you track it, you will say that it fights blood clots. And we found that if I just take the elements and feed it to the fish, I get negative gene regulation. So therefore, we came up with a composition of spices which can help to fight cancer, one for asthma, one for diabetics and cholesterol. I have run a restaurant in Jakarta for 15 years out of the 22 that I was in Indonesia before landing up here during the COVID tenure. And therefore, I put taste into it also. No onion, no garlic, no salt, no additives. If you are sauteing onions, you don't need onions in my packet. So we do pure spices, only spices, target at your health. Lots to talk about. Please come to stall number C8. It'll be our pleasure to explain to you why we have created a phytochemical-based spice mix that's easy to cook. You just saute the onions and the tomatoes, throw in our spice, throw in your veggies and rice, close the lid, have a bath, and come back, biryani is ready. So gentlemen, well-being through a tasty palate. Give it up for Lifespice, and thank you for being an audience.
ऐसा लाइफ स्पाइस में क्या है जो इसमें नहीं है?
पहले देखो तो इसके अंदर क्या है? अरे इसके पीछे देखो, अब पढ़ो।
अरे ये क्या? प्याज, लहसुन, अदरक, नमक?
बेसन भी होगा। लाइफ स्पाइस में पूरा का पूरा सिर्फ स्पाइस, ओरिजिनल स्पाइस। इलायची, लवंग, जावित्री जैसे 15 स्पाइसेस हैं।
महक तो दमदार है, मगर दाम थोड़ा ज्यादा नहीं है?
ओरिजिनल स्पाइस है यार, उसका सही प्राइस है। इतना खर्चा करते हैं, सेहत के लिए थोड़ा ज्यादा क्यों नहीं?
हाँ, तेरी बात में तो दम है।
समझदारी से पकाना है, लाइफ स्पाइस।
लाइफ स्पाइस मसाला, सेहत और स्वाद के लिए।
लाइफ स्पाइस, ना सिर्फ स्वाद और सुगंध, सेहत भी।
Okay. So next 40 minutes we are going to have hopefully a very interactive roundtable session on the myths and the reality around well-being, healthy food, and the whole ecosystem. Sifting the myth and the reality, that's going to be the objective of this session. So we put together a panel of 6 great individuals who are all stakeholders. As part of this big ecosystem, they bring their own expertise. So we'll have the benefit of listening to each one of them. And then there'll be an opportunity for you to put some questions to them, right? So when this topic came about, me moderating this session, I was kind of questioning, what are my credentials to sit with these great people here? Then I realized this session is all about food. So I am a stakeholder, obviously. And on top of that, I've been a diabetic for some time. So, you know, I've been flooded with tons and tons of solicited, unsolicited well-being, healthy food advices ranging from zero carb to, you know, moderate carb to keto food to whatnot. I've been wired with lots of sensors. I've created a digital body twin for me now in an app that tells me what I should eat, how much I should eat, and it tells me what's my metabolic score at the end of the day. So, but I still feel that all I am hearing is information, it's not knowledge. There is a lot of information today in space because data is cheap. Today, Google, WhatsApp, Facebook push advertisement try to tell us what I should buy, what's wellness. They try to define wellness for me. So what I want to do in this session, I'm sure most of the people in the audience would like to hear from you guys. If there is a go, no-go gauge, that can be very loosely defined for us to be able to define what's really wellness. How do we define that? What people should go for that? Is that complex? We'll try to figure out. I was telling my friend that we have been flooded with so much of information, avalanches, that I was telling my friend about H-1B visa. Instead, I was telling to him about HbA1c. To that extent, these terminologies have started impacting us. With that said, I want to first start with Chef Harpal Singh, very popular man. Thank you very much for being here. So I'll start with a very simple question, sir. So generally, people tend to associate, healthy food not with the taste, right? You are someone who successfully have managed to get that, what sounds like an oxymoron, into reality, healthy as well as a tasty food. So what role does food play in this wellness space, according to you?
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everybody. This is Chef Harpal. The first thing that comes to my mind is that, what is well-being? Let's understand that, okay? Well-being is the state of happiness in your mind. That's the underlining statement. एक बार खाओ, 6 बार खाओ. Is that giving you happiness? If that is giving you happiness, size of the person doesn't matter. He might be living probably 90 years. And I have a classic example in my house. My father-in-law, 87, still rides a scooter, okay, still walks for 4 kilometers, still eats mutton curry loaded with oil on top, which is 1 centimeter oil, no oil, no food. So then I go back to my study table and think, what is well-being? It is clear. I see him, happy state of mind, okay? I run restaurants. I do digital medium. When I cook in restaurants, if I do anything that is home-cooked food, it does not sell. It does not make economic sense. It does not make happiness, does not translate into happiness to the person who orders that food right on his table, because the first thing I hear, ये तो हम घर पे भी बनाते हैं. So finished. Neurosenses gone for a toss. Irritation started. Everything gone for a toss. How do you begin your day for a happy day? A good cup of tea or coffee, right? That's what builds happiness in your day. You get a great cup of tea and your day is done. Good, man. You have a happy meal, your body is happy. It creates all the necessary things to digest. Okay, provided you have a little better lifestyle of running, jogging, it creates all. The body as a mechanism creates everything to keep you fit. You have to just add on and listen to what it is. So for me, actually, I've been hearing this statement, healthy food is not tasty food. तो घर का खाना क्या है? घर का खाना क्या है? मैं सबसे यही पूछता हूँ. जो भी लोग ये कहते हैं कि healthy food is not tasty food, तो वो हमारी माँ ने जो सैकड़ों मतलब decades गुजारे हैं किचन में, वो क्या healthy food नहीं बना रही थी? बना रही थी ना? उसी का खाना याद है. मेरा खाना याद नहीं है. शेफ हरपाल का खाना याद नहीं है. मेमोरी आपकी आपके माँ के किचन की है. और वो हेल्दी फूड है. अगर वो हेल्दी फूड है तो हेल्दी फूड टेस्टी कैसे नहीं होता है? वो जब आप उसके डायनामिक्स चेंज करते हो, जब आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हो, जैसे ही आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हो तो एक्सपेरिमेंट हैज अ साइकिल. ओके, दैट साइकिल, दैट पर्टिकुलर रेसिपी हैज टू गो थ्रू. सम पीपल विल एक्सेप्ट, some will not accept it. That which is not accepted, side में करिए. नई रेसिपी लेके आइए, बनाइए, दिखाइए, लोगों को बताइए. Healthy food is tasty. India has abundance of it. Those who have lived in US or in the Western countries, look at the rubbish breakfast you get in the morning. Evening you get a steak with little greens. अरे इंडिया का ब्रेकफास्ट देखो यार, 5 स्टार का, मजा आ जाता है. वो ब्रेकफास्ट बुफे के सामने खड़े हो जाओ होटल में, दिल खुश हो जाता है, आदमी बिना खाए चले जाता है, यार मजा आ गया देख के, छोड़ दो यार. That is happiness. That happiness that has triggered in you will help you keep, absolutely in good health. And that to me is the most important thing. For me, good food is happiness. And so far as that happiness is translated through a mother's hands, through my hands, through a chef's hand, through spices, whatever it is, at the end of the day, if that particular dish is bringing happiness, that means you have eaten the right thing and you have balanced out the right thing. Nothing more than that matters to me. With lot of difficulty, I have a recipe in my restaurant which just has 5 ingredients. Okay, and in North India, agar aisi recipe aap bata doge, I put my wife's recipe that she makes in my house, because she's a Maharashtrian, she makes a pitla, which is her style, which is little thick. Okay, we just added little value to it. Spring onion besan with moringa chutney is the recipe in my restaurant. North India में किसी को ये बोल दो रेसिपी, जूते मारेंगे, बोलेंगे पनीर के अलावा तुम बेसन खिला रहे हो, पगला गए क्या? पकोड़े कम हैं जो बाहर मिल रहे हैं बेसन के, तुम ये खिला रहे हो. But today's date, we are able to sell. So we put in an effort, which everybody in the food industry has to do when they create wow elements. So you put in an effort. कि सर थोड़ा टेस्ट करिए, मजा आएगा, ठीक है ना? हम चार्ज थोड़ी कर रहे हैं, आप टेस्ट करिए. Sampling, we did that. Now it is a dish which is to reckon with. People say that, okay, I want that recipe. So there's an effort also, because it creates that simplicity, it creates that happiness, it creates that differentiator, and I think that is where the winner is. So having said this, for me it is simple underlying statement that food that brings in happiness, okay, is good food for you. It is well-being for you. That's about it.
Thank you, Chef. That was a very simple takeaway, right? The food that gives you happiness is the best food for you. Great. So let's listen to another perspective. We got Pranay here, who's a lifestyle fitness consultant. Maybe you can put your company's name as well. So he talked of the food. How much is the lifestyle and the fitness aspects of that that one has to look for?
So, hello. So, what I would like to add to Chef Harpal's. Hello. Okay. So, what I would like to add over here is basically, as Chef Harpal said, like his father, he loves his mutton, he loves eating it with that much oil, but he also puts in that effort to even go for that 4-kilometer walk. Now, what happiness comes to someone is what they love doing by the end of it. In terms of well-being, right? Well-being also comes from eating good food that you really like. There is no restriction on someone to, stop eating something or not to do this or not to do that. What makes you happy, you do it, but you also make sure that you are, again, balancing your life. Not just balancing your life by only doing like exercises or workouts. Here, things that make you happy, things that, say, if you like reading a book, so you get that mental stress out by doing something that you really love. Sleeping, super important, wherein you get that 7-8 hours of sleep. That makes you again wake up in the morning with a much fresher mind, with a much fresher thought process that you can again kill in the whole day, right? Apart from that, like drinking basic water, enough water so that you're hydrated throughout the day. This ensures that you stay, again at the top of a game, where we take it for granted. और अगर हम भूल जाते हैं कि काम कर लिया, इतना बिजी हो गए हम अपने काम में कि पानी पीना ही भूल गए. बहुत सारा ऐसे छोटे छोटे चीज़ है where we don't really realize the importance of it, but it has to be done also so that you are again lower on the stress levels. You're not releasing those kind of hormones in your body where it kind of hampers a lot of mental stress basically. So this is something that I would like to kind of ponder on for everyone basically. As I said, right, taking Chef Harpal's father's example, he loved eating his mutton, right? It gives him happiness. Basically, what that does is his stress levels also kind of come down because of that. He does go for a 4-kilometer walk, what he said. He does probably sleep enough in the day. He does probably make sure that his bonding with his family is also at level where कि रोज 10 मिनट भी अपने फैमिली के साथ गुजार लिया, रोज बात कर लिया एक दूसरे से, it just makes you feel that much happier, and that is well-being, right? That is something where not only food will definitely help you. It will definitely make sure that you kind of fight those diseases. If you have diabetes, you do have to ensure that you cannot be eating certain foods, but there are these other factors that 100% make sure that you don't kind of fall into the category of not being well or something as such. That is something that I would like.
Thank you, Pranay. So we had one element coming from chef, which is just on the food part of that. Pranay covered the fitness, the wellness, and the lifestyle part. Here comes Ruby, who's going to talk of a little bit of both, a combination of both food as well as lifestyle. On top of that, she is all about very exclusive, personalized advisory, and she calls it as a science base. So I'm very keen to hear from you, Ruby, how you deploy science to solve this problem for us.
At the outset, I want to thank the organizers of the program to have a dietitian in this forum, because usually what happens is जहाँ पे अच्छा food होता है तो people are worried the dietitian आएगी तो खाने को नहीं देगी. This is what usually happens with the patients. आज खा लो, कल diet counseling है, and after that, good food is out of my life. So for that, I want to thank, and big congratulations to Lifespice for launching such an interesting product. Taking the discussion ahead, adding to what they've said, food may be different for all of us, okay, whether it's illness, wellness. For me as a professional, of course, food is happiness, but beyond that, I look at food from both the angles, from wellness as well as illness. So all of you don't go to the dietitian when only you're ill. Now the trend has changed. People are also going for diet counseling in the well state of being. So for me and for us, when we look at the plate, okay, or when we look at something like this, okay, for some of you, okay, you'll quickly open the box and maybe do the tasting, okay, and you will start thinking, okay, kahan use karenge, will it change the taste? Any food which comes from front of me, what comes first is the nutrition label. What is there in the product before the taste? Is it going to help improve the health of a person? When I look at the plate, I can only look at calories, carbs, proteins, fats, good fat, bad fat, omega-3, 30% fats, 60% carbs. So these are the numbers which come in front of me, because see, food is eaten and gives you happiness in the best state of your life. But if you're not too well, okay, taste doesn't matter. In a person or a patient who's hospitalized, taste doesn't mean anything. But what happens is food is going to nourish the body. So food for me is nourishment. Food is life. Okay? Of course, taste matters. अगर वो tasty नहीं होगा तो even patient cannot pay. Food कितना भी अच्छा हो in terms of calories बोलो या in terms of nutritional value बोलो, in terms of density of nutrients बोलो, if it is not tasty, if it is not palatable, जैसे अगर उनको इन्होंने breakfast बोला जो US में मिलता है वो सामने रख दिया जाए किसी पंजाबी के तो भूखा मर जाए. So no matter how tasty or how healthy it is, what you are used to it, your culture brings in, what you are used to is what going to. And science, basically food is science for me. As I said, calories, protein, fats, के beyond भी बहुत कुछ है. So food is not just given because आप healthy हो तो ये आपके लिए diet है, आप unhealthy हो तो ये diet है. It matters a lot. So there are a lot of guidelines which are given by ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, and NIN, which is the National Institute of Nutrition based in Hyderabad. So they give a lot of guidelines for Indian adults. So the latest guideline came out in year 2010, and they keep updating it. That was the last release. They give you how many calories is required for adults, for children of different ages, or for women of different, like pregnant women, lactating women. So lot of choices of food depend on what are the guidelines which are issued by these institutes. For example, an adult man has a different number of calories and a calcium requirement vis-a-vis a woman of a particular age. A child have a different age group, infant has a different age requirement, and adolescent has a different requirement. So based on the gender and the age, different what you call calories, proteins, fat, and how much calcium and other micronutrients are required is mentioned. So for us, when we plan a diet, these things play a very, very important role. We look at the science. Secondly, looking at the food by itself, we also look at the science of the food, not only of the human body. When we look at the food, we see whether it is suitable for that particular human being or that condition. For example, if somebody is obese, will I be able to give the same food which I give it to a person who is underweight? I may have to change or alter the calories. Somebody who already has diabetes may require a slightly different food. It may be the kheer, he makes such a lovely dessert, but I may not be able to recommend with the same ingredient. So science of the ingredient also matters to me a lot. If it's a person who's hypertensive, food is same, sirf namak kam karna hai. Okay, it may be different types of salt. So that there also science plays an important role. And of course, you all witnessed immunity ke time pe what was important. Just tell me during COVID times, how many of you bought foods jiske packet pe likha hoga immunity booster? Please raise your hands. Be honest to yourself. Please feel free to answer. Please raise your hands. How many of you read the label? Ki is pe immunity boosting hai? I'm not sure. Itne kam logon ne aise kiya hoga. Bhale wo chawanprashi kyun na ho. But everybody read that, right? Now, how many of you reading the label now? और उसमें immunity लिखा होगा तो does it bother you now? It doesn't really much, okay? हमने immunity बना ली, पानी पूरी खा लिया रास्ते का, हमने restaurants में जाने लगे हम. That happy state of mind has got us the immunity back, right? But there's a science behind that as well. So all these keywords, so as a patient or as a professional, we look at these keywords which these, I mean, आपके menu में पता नहीं है कि नहीं, but there are some time back there was a diabetic diet blue logo which was introduced by the RSSDI and the Diabetes Association of India कि जो diabetic है वो ये जहाँ जैसे red green होता है वैसे एक blue भी introduce किया था. तो ये diabetic diet होगा तो it is safe to consume. वैसे ही bracket पे हर एक चीज़ like organic is very you know, there's a science behind it, behind the press. अभी इन्होंने नई चीज़ introduce की है, cancer care या diabetes care. That is a science which appeals to me and my patients. So there's a lot of science at every step before the food. उतना ही नहीं, अगर वो patient hospital में है, नहीं भी है, for me there is a science behind the aroma and the texture of the food. There is an older elderly person who cannot chew. Uncle तो बहुत सेहतमंद है, but there are some people who cannot gulp down the food. Okay, they have restrictions. So I have to see foods which are soft in texture, which are blenderized foods. Even that plays an important role while selecting or making a menu plan for the people. So at every step there is a science behind it. Food is science for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ruby. That's a very different perspective, science related with food. Let's hear the fourth perspective now. Sachin runs a retail business across Tier 1 cities of India. Sachin, my question to you is, I'm sure you have a well-being section. How do you choose those products? They get chosen by you or the guy who sells it? Like, you know, the movie industry says, we give what people want, right? Is retail like that, or you pick and choose, or how does it work?
Thank you, Ram. So what I'll do, I'll explain it by phase. I'll go back to 5 years back. So retailers always wanted, most of us wanted to do something around health. So 5 years back, what we did, we created, one zone saying this is a health zone or diet zone. During the pandemic, we improvised and, through the learning, we created some, 2 steps we have taken. We have created some salad counters or cold press oil section, cold press juice section, etc. Aside to that, we brought some of the categories like makhana, dry fruits. So these, there was a information and there was a knowledge which was coming from consumer to us that what they wanted. Considering this, now if you see, most of the retailers are, the basic problem we are facing in information and knowledge of the staff. The store team, which are front-end team, their knowledge is not up to the mark. I mean, I would say this is the current scenario. We have to work on that for what customers are asking in terms of their own health. Now, there are a lot of technology which is coming around in retail, like I would say that there is a traceability which is coming, where consumer will get to know what is the source, when it is harvested, when it has reached to the it has reached to the DC, when it has reached to the store. Now consumers are asking for it. It's no more about only fresh. It's no more about only healthy. It's also that their information on to know when the products, or when the produce has come to their house. So that is the level of work which now all the retailers have started working on to give more well-being to the consumer. Apart from that, if you see in last 2 years, our layout, our presence in the store also has changed. Earlier it was more of a snack driven, more of a grocery driven. But now if you see, the space is going more to the health being. So almost 30 to 40% space we are giving for the healthy products items. So this is the changes what I see that as a retailer we are improvising and we are doing.
Thanks so much, Sachin. So the next voice is something you probably would never hear in a forum like this. These are all people, very familiar, related in this food ecosystem. Tarun is a lawyer. He's an IP and a patent attorney, very accomplished, high-profile attorney. He's flew in from Delhi to attend this event. Tarun, my question to you is, how do you justify your position here? Jokes apart. I just want to ask you, when a manufacturer applies for a patent for his well-being food, what does that deliver to consumers like them? Is it just about compliance, or is it about innovation? Or as an insider, you see, is that a trend? More and more manufacturers, are they looking at filing for patents? And what it means to consumers like them?
All right, a very good afternoon. I am surely an outlier for this conference. I have never attended a food conference earlier. Usually intellectual property and legal issues are either restricted to legal conferences or to high technology conferences, which are more in the electronics and the software and the pharmaceutical area in particular. But over the last few years, we have seen that a lot of companies, we have obviously assisted Lifespice in getting a few patents, but I see a number of other companies who are exhibiting here, including Dabur, including the Harpal, Satyapal, DS group, which are fairly active. And most of us would not even know that they're filing a number of patent applications as form of intellectual property protection for the various formulations that they're coming up with. They have herbal products, they have actual formulations of products that they've combined over multiple tests and clinical data that they've obtained over the years. And for those formulations which are demonstrating synergistic behavior, which is demonstrating efficacious behavior, that instead of consuming 5 things independently, if you are able to make one tablet out of a combination of those 5 in a particular ratio, you are able to either reduce the treatment time or are able to improve the therapeutic efficacy of that particular indication or medical disease or whatever it might be, is the area in which the science is progressing. Most the exhibitors that I was also trying to meet up today don't have a lot of appreciation or knowledge towards intellectual property at this moment. But if you go to markets like the US or even Southeast Asia, there's a lot of IP work being done where these products are being filed to differentiate their own products from the products of other companies. Now, for example, just for the case of Lifespice here, these formulations of the spices that we have come up with have a lot of clinical data which have resulted into patents being granted to these companies. It is not that they've just filed a patent and you leave it there. They've taken the whole pain of about 2 years to do the R&D and go through the process to obtain patents. And as a result of which, nobody can copy these formulations, when they actually commercialize the product and they become popular. Nobody can actually just take a formulation and reverse engineer it and start manufacturing it, because the patents and other intellectual properties would protect them. Now that is one aspect of IP, which are patents. There are various other aspects, for example, in the form of trademarks, which also I see that a lot of exhibitors don't really pay a lot of attention to. Some of them are very old brands which are being sold, but they don't even use a basic R, which is indicative of a registered trademark. There was a case in Delhi High Court last week, which was decided by Justice Naveen Chawla, where there is a company or a outlet in Delhi which started off using frappe or frappuccino as one of their trademarks, and Starbucks then filed a suit for trademark infringement. And on the first day of the hearing, on the first day, without even giving a proper opportunity to the defendant in that particular matter, an injunction was granted and a decree was issued as a very exceptional case, and a damage of 14 lakhs was imposed by Justice Naveen Chawla. So by a company that knows for a fact that Starbucks has been dealing with Frappuccino, it is a coined word, and you still malafidely copy that slavishly so as to indicate that this is probably somehow connected to the coffee that Starbucks is selling, has resulted them into 14 lakhs, which is maybe not a big amount for most of you here, but it is still a lot of embarrassment to that particular party that copied it. So trademarks, Starbucks versus Sardar Baksh versus Burger King versus Burger Singh, all of these seem to be very easy facets, but when you get to the reality of going through the kind of trademark disputes, so many of them are in the food industry, a lot of them are in the grocery industry, in the online retail industry, through companies like Flipkart and Amazon that have to become defendants because their suppliers are selling products which are similar in names to the actual manufacturers. So the intent of coming here was only to obviously appreciate how the industry is scaling up, but also to impart that some bit of sensitization towards intellectual property, that we should all try to make products which are innovative technically and try to properly protect them through and in the form of patents, and also explore and ensure that your trademarks are well protected and that other companies are not misusing it and you are not infringing on somebody else's property in the form of IP. So these are the 2 or 3 points that I thought, and I'm happy to take a few questions if required.
Thanks, Tarun. Finally, the buck stops with you, Ganeshan. As a manufacturer, only when somebody like him manufactures something, he cooks, you recommend it to people, he sells it, so you are sitting somewhere on the top of this value chain. As far as wellness products are concerned, where does commercialization start? Where does profiteering start? Where does it stop and where does it start? And connect all the dots of everything this gentleman and the lady said. And if you could give a comprehensive story on that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. It's been quite a while since I sat on the top of the chain, so thank you. Before I come to your point, thank you, Images, for this excellent opportunity. When Mr. Subir reached out to me, I thought this session is going to be something where I can spread the word about Lifespice. Now, listening to all these people, I have understood my product better. Thank you for that. And I'll tell you how. Even Picasso can't paint without a canvas. If we want to talk about well-being, well-being of what? Well-being of my body. So I learned today that the body must sustain itself first and exist in a healthy form before it starts thinking about well-being. And then I learned from Sardarji that I have a good figure because the happy man is actually built like me, not like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So yeah, happiness is a good index. Thank you, sir. Yes, we need to have sustenance. If this program were not the Indian food show, if it were the European food show, I doubt there would be any spice stall. Because it is the Indian food show, there are about 12 spice stalls out there. I just met the Goldie people and said, yeah, we're like the solar system. We keep our distance, but we all coexist. We don't collide. They are the Jupiters, we are the Plutos. But what I need people to understand is, why is it so? It is because only in India, food is medicine. So when they talk of sustenance, every European and American diet talks of sustenance, protein, carbs, fats. That's all to sustain. That's the canvas. You need that canvas to be an existing Homo sapien. And then when you want to be someone who is oriented towards well-being, you want your genes to function well, which is why our ancestors brought in spices into cooking. Taste is acquired. Northern China likes raw monkey brain. I like idli sambar. Sadaji likes his aloo prante. The taste is acquired over the generations depending on what the ancestors gave us. And our ancestors gave us spices because spices are medicines. And when I go to a pharmacy, I don't say blue medicine 3 pads, red medicine 2 pads, green medicine 1 pad. Then why am I going to a grocery shop and saying chana masala de dena? Let's learn to treat our spices as we treat our medicines, most of which are derived from spices. The painkiller that you put on your hand is derived from capsaicin, which comes from chilies. As ma'am said, or sir said, please turn that packet and read the contents. If you're buying a rajma masala with onion flakes and garlic flakes in it, think about it. Is that what you really want to buy? Is that what your grandmother thought is medicine? Or should the jar contain only spices? So well-being, from my perspective as a manufacturer, is giving not what you don't need, but just what you need, given that you're healthy. And like my friend in the beginning mentioned, we're not a cure. We're not talking disease. We are talking well-being, which begins with a healthy, happy human being. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's treat our spices with respect. Let's treat our food with respect. Even a gulab jamun. I challenge the chef, he can't make the gulab jamun that they show on a food packet because that's made by a computer. Utna gol to banta hi nahi na sab. Let's not get carried away by opaque pictures drawn on a computer packet. Let's buy foods that are transparent. Let's understand what we buy. Pay value for what we buy. Have a happy life, like Siddharji said. Have a healthy life, like ma'am and sir said. Allow the retailers to discriminate and give you products which are actually healthy and not just looking healthy at the outside. And then, in order to have an IP, we need to use our intelligence. As customers, let us not allow commercialization to become profiteering. Let us not allow indiscriminate pledging of conscience in order to accumulate promissory notes of the governor of Reserve Bank of India, which is what your money is. Let us earn it by respectfully, truthfully, with integrity, providing the customer what they need. So we need intelligent customers, we need responsible retailers, and above all, we need manufacturers with integrity. On behalf of manufacturers, this is a clarion call to everybody. Let's pledge to improve integrity and the quality of our produce. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. That was a good recap. Forum is open to the audience. We got 6 interesting viewpoints. If anybody has a question, feel free, please. At least have one of your recipe validated by sir here. Between the panelists, anybody want to ask anything? Looks like it's such a clear, a clear session that we imparted a lot of knowledge. Want to thank you, the audience, for all the time that you spent with us. Hopefully it was worthy of it. Thank you very much, the panelists.